We had an emotional moment while you were away. We're just sharing some stories.
So I was watching it just as I came in, actually, and I've just said that I've got quite an honest. I've got quite an honest conversation to have today. And I was thinking, oh gosh, is it too much for a Monday morning to kind of be honest about things?
No.
And then I heard that, and I was like, no, that's.
You're definitely in the right place.
Yeah.
And I'm really qualified, just so everyone knows.
Yes.
Qualified to support if it's necessary.
Yes.
Good to know.
We're all in a safe space. So, firstly, please introduce yourselves to us all.
My name is Sarah Ellis. Do I look at the lovely people who are watching? Hello.
It's up there.
Lovely. Oh, it's up there.
Hi. Yeah.
Hello, lovely people that are watching. My name's Sarah Ellis. I'm from Tick Box Productions. So the Tick is TIC, and it stands for Theatre Inspiring Change. So my story has come from I want to be an actress to realizing that there was a path that I think I was kind of being directed to for various different reasons. So we tour live interactive theatre shows. I always think it's funny when you say live, as if people tour dead shows, but that's not how it works.
Dead interactive shows.
Dead interactive shows.
I think they're boring.
I died. I'm sure so boring. But it's just funny as an expression because I think there's so much stuff that's, on screen, etc. So yeah, we turn up, we're human beings, and we do shows about stuff that affects people. And our main aim is to combat prejudice, discrimination, and look at those issues where hate may be affecting somebody. So I've just worked out our figures, 66,000 people we've worked with, which is huge. Thank you. It's really funny, isn't it, when being a typical kind of artist, I don't tend to necessarily...
No, of course you don't.
And in fact, I didn't even send my video in. So
no, exactly.
I noticed that one this morning. A little message from Alex saying, don't forget your video. I'm like,
already forgotten.
Of course. Yeah, exactly.
I'll do that after I speak
it's
to you.
It's fine, don't worry about it.
But yes, it's been a really interesting journey. I just feel we need to be talking about stuff.
Yes.
And we need to be calling stuff out. So we've got shows on domestic abuse. We've got shows on homophobia, transphobia, biphobia, racism. At the moment, we're working with probation officers on a project on racism because there are various challenges there, as there are everywhere, of course. Our homophobia show's been seen in Parliament, which was really interesting to be in the building that declared that it was illegal to be gay. Yep. But with all due respect, also declared in 1967, can you believe that late, also declared that it wasn't illegal to be a gay man.
Yeah. What year was that?
1967. So I was born in 68.
No.
So
no, you weren't.
That was good.
Well done, Alex. That was quick, considering he's so tired as well. That was quick.
I'm good at this.
But year before I was born, it was still illegal.
Wow. And that wasn't that long ago, really.
No. Look at me. I'm 21.
Exactly.
It wasn't that long ago. It's interesting, actually, talking about the mental health thing, not without bringing the temperature down too quickly, but it was illegal to take your life up until 1961.
Gosh.
Illegal.
Really?
Yeah.
How can it be illegal? Well, how can you be arrested?
If you tried to take your life up until that point, you were arrested.
It's a criminal offence.
It's a criminal offence, which is why we don't use the terminology commit suicide.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, we don't use it. So we ask people to think about using the terminology completed or attempted. So it's because it used to be a crime. It was a crime to commit. So so it's not that long ago.
No,
so much have changed in that time. So in the place they make these laws, they then are able to unmake them, right? So
that makes, I don't know how I feel about that. Let's just rip the room out first.
Alex, don't go there. We're not going to be going there yet, mate. It's too early. It's too early.
But it's true, isn't it? This is, this is
culture
real
is culture.
Yeah, and I think that what I love about the work that we do is that we start these conversations. And I think the more that, so you've said that to me, I will now take that elsewhere, and that's how I believe that I believe that's what we want as human beings, because we want to connect, right? Like that's kind of our main thing, I think, most of us.
Yep.
I'm aware that some people don't necessarily feel like that, but that might be because of other reasons.
Yeah. They might still crave the connection. They might just not be the one, not want to be the one actively connecting.
Or don't know how.
Absolutely. Yes. Because it's not easy, and actually the world is making it less easy, right? You know, we've just been through what we've all just been through. I think maybe has put some pressure on people to not talk.
Yeah.
Or to be able to express themselves on social media in a way that doesn't necessarily move the conversation.
Love it. You are just about.
I told you two would get on.
Seriously,
I was so excited.
Exactly the same. Like, so it might be that there could be, because there are exceptions to every rule, right? But there is normally a trend. Yes. You did, Alex.
Honestly,
you did say that.
I've been excited to meet you in person since we spent about an hour you ranting at me on your phone in the car outside of school at one point. I don't know what we were talking about. I don't know what we were talking about at the time, but you went off. I was like, I like you.
Yeah, I like it.
I like you a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not true to anyone who's watching. I don't go off in any way. If anyone knows
in the best
me,
possible way.
No, I do.
The best
She
possible
goes
way.
in. That's what she said. She goes in.
Yeah, because we've got to. And
absolutely.
I do worry at the moment. I do worry that the pandemic has exacerbated lots of stuff. I'm also really kind of filled with hope at how much it's exacerbated in a positive way, because I do think that the Me Too movement and Black Lives Matter, did it gain more traction because we were watching it on a screen?
Yes.
And actually it enabled people who kind of went, well, it's not really a problem, is it? Is that a problem? Because I don't know it's a problem. So therefore, is it a problem? To go, oh.
Shit.
Yeah. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Not only is that a thing, that's happening now. Because we can all look in our history books, can't we? And we can all kind of look backwards and go, well, that was really mean. People weren't very nice, were they?
But we changed
really mean.
But we changed the thing in the courtroom.
Well,
we changed it.
Yeah, well, it doesn't happen. Shh, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
And it's true. And we need those courtrooms, right? And we need those changes. But number one, what are we having to do in order to make those changes? Actually, it's not good enough. It isn't good enough. It's 2022, folks. Stating the obvious, how much further on are we? And also, where can we have these conversations and be safe? So for me, in all of the work that I do, it's about creating a safe atmosphere to have those conversations and to know that you're not stupid, you're not ignorant, you're not, some people are stupid and ignorant, but in general, we're human beings and we understand and we feel pain and all of that stuff. So what is stopping us from kind of opening up and going, wait a minute, this is wrong, what can I do? And there's lots of theories on that.
Yes, there are. yes, there are. And empathy is the understanding of feeling with somebody, not for them. So it's knowing what, and you said it. Everyone knows what pain feels like.
Yeah,
everybody knows what pain feels like. It's a fundamental human emotion. But my pain doesn't necessarily have to be the same as your pain for you to know I'm in pain. Yeah. It's not the knowing what's gone on. It's the seeing me. Like, Alex got quite emotional a minute ago reading out that story, and I got emotional watching because I'm empathetic. I can feel that. 100%. So I'm feeling with people. So I'm quite fascinated. I mean, I'm probably not going to go on, but how does do your plays do that safely for you guys? Because they bring up quite a lot of stuff, right? Like, how do you do that? How do you manage that?
Well, can I talk about the audience first?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, please.
So the idea, the model that we do is that we go into literally any space. So what I love about this work is we could literally pitch up here and do it. We could do it in the street. We could do it. So we want to work in prisons. If anyone has any contacts, that's our next. We're working with probation officers. Do we realise the high stats in women's prisons of women who have been victims, survivors of domestic abuse? So we'd really like to get our domestic abuse play into prisons. But yeah, so we can go there. We go into schools, we go into colleges, we go into businesses, into kind of these sort of corporate spaces. Just let's have a chat, because that's what it's about. So we show a play, which is normally anything. So Boy, our play on homophobia, is around half an hour long. The Bruise You Can't See, which is called that, it's about domestic abuse, but it's about looking at the early warning signs. So we're not looking at when you get punched in the face.
Yep.
We're looking at the stuff before that. And all of our plays, well, they can go into any space. We show the play. That one's about 40 minutes long. And then we have a chat with the audience. So the play inevitably it's not Disney. It's not other products are just as
easily
available. What I'm saying is it's not a woohoo, everything's great at the end.
No, absolutely.
And
Gets you thinking.
But, and kind of goes, oh, okay. And then we look at what could have happened before that could have stopped it going in that direction.
So an intervention. There's an intervention piece there as well.
Yeah,
that looks awesome.
Intervention.
Yes.
And, where are those windows of intervention? So then our audiences get to go back and just try stuff out. I honestly think that people are fundamentally good. And that has been challenged on a few occasions. But fundamentally, human beings are good. But they may choose or make behavioural choices that are informed by lots of stuff, right? The way you're brought up, the mood you're in, the media around you, the messages, cultural norms, etc., etc., etc. So our job is to just challenge some of those behaviours. And so what we'll do is basically, so the actors go out into the audience, they have a group each, and they say, okay, what do I do? I don't make nothing up.
Why have I not been?
I know. Well, I've been trying to go for ages.
Seriously,
you're coming to the next one.
Honestly.
Seriously.
We have a day out. We have a shift this day out.
Let's go and see it.
Yes.
Because it's so interesting. Because as an audience, and I think sometimes the audience kind of test us out, and they're a bit like, okay, you've got 3 endings. Let's see. And we're like, no, got nothing.
Yeah.
What do we say? What do we do? Quick. We also, I feel, make it quite truthful with a device, which is I facilitate and I put the music on quite quickly. And the rule is that when the music goes on, you have to come away from your group. The actor comes away from the group. So I think it's quite important that there's a sense of urgency in your answer, because I also believe people are very good at telling other people what they want to hear.
Yes.
And what does that look like? I will never be horrible to someone because they are gay, because, whatever. Well, of course not, right? But actually, what's
the behaviour? Yeah.
What changes that? What challenges that in the moment? Yeah, I remember in the Black Lives Matter movement, and someone, a white person, said to me, well, the thing is...
I love that.
I know where this is going.
Well, the thing is, the tilted head, and you just kind of think, oh, okay.
Here we go.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think if they hadn't done this, people would be more sympathetic.
Love it.
And the whole thing, Sarah Everard was murdered, and if those women hadn't have, it just doesn't help them. What are we looking at now? What are we looking at now? And let's not go there. Let's get back to the subject. So anyway, the actors come back and they do and say what they've been told to do by the audience.
Wow.
And say by the audience, which inevitably, can be really challenging or can get challenged by someone else.
Yeah, love that.
Because all the characters have got objectives. Now, the person who bullies... their objective isn't I'm going to bully someone today, but it might be I want to be popular.
Yeah.
I want everyone to know that I'm okay. Like that could be their objective. So the audience can call them back at any point, and go, oh, time out. Come back.
I didn't mean for that.
Try something else.
Yeah.
Come back in. Time out.
Wow.
And that's how it goes. So for me, it's about that's cool.
That's
Let's try that out.
phenomenal.
But if there are consequences, they'll come out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I am only 21, I heard that when people were teenagers in the 80s, which was the best time for music, by the way, controversial.
It's great because I think it's the 90s, but hey, let's carry
We
on.
can talk about that. That's a gin or a rum conversation.
Yeah, I reckon.
But in the 80s, there was a whole drugs campaign, wasn't there? Just say no.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and that's cool because lots of drugs aren't very good for you. So just say no. What does that actually mean to people? So the minute that they go, well, I might make the decision. Well, just say no doesn't mean anything. Get it into the background. So it's also about saying, do what you want.
But there are consequences.
But are you aware what this means to you? Are you aware what this means to someone else? Are you aware what that means to a community? And that's kind of how we negotiate our way through. It is about empowering people to have the conversation, to think about how it affects them and how it affects their community. And I believe that if we look at it that way, people have the potential to then stand up, which is why I was so keen to come in today.
Yeah.
Because it is about standing up.
Absolutely.
It is about kind of saying, okay, so one of my favorite phrases is I'm challenged by that. You know, we could all swear and say, whatever, shut up, you person.
Yeah.
But actually,
Yeah, that one.
That one. I'm really trying hard not to shit and not to swear.
Fine.
You know, or we could just stand up and say, well, I'm challenged by that. Talk to me about that. Because if it's real for that person, there's some stuff I've written some stuff for in a bit. But one of the things that I mentioned there is
We're in a bits now.
We're in a bits now.
You get to blend all of this now. No, I know.
Okay.
It's up to you. We've got 25 minutes left.
Okay.
And we want, like, I knew whatever you did here would be wonderful. Just your words are wonderful. So if you want to do something with us, you know, there's people watching. Danielle wants to do stuff.
Well, can I put it up here just to remind me of the things that I do feel quite...
Of course.
Look how long it is. Wow. Goodness me. Anyone who knows me sees how unusual that is, that I've written so much. I'm so opinionated. Is it okay to be opinionated?
Yes.
Is it okay?
Of course it is.
Can we be opinionated?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, one of the things that I was going to say was we do a lot of work on domestic abuse. And I wrote down some phrases that... Okay. That one I can come to in a minute. For me, it's about calling stuff out. For me, it's about speaking up. And it's also ensuring that we know how to cope if we're being derailed. Okay. So whataboutery is a thing that I feel quite strongly about. So we talk about domestic abuse and we talk about rape. It's a thing. It's real. If there is anybody out there that feels that their next sentence posts something about that, if they're male and their next sentence is, but men get abused too. Can I have a moment just to defrag that and just to share? Because I'm female. And as a female, that sends a very strong message. And that message is you want to derail the truth. Now, let me talk through that because there might be people spitting feathers out there at the moment. Don't spit feathers yet. Just wait. When it's the second sentence or the third sentence, it's vital because it is not just women who are abused. It is men as well. But can we be conscious of just not making it that first sentence? So I have got some stats here because as an artist, numbers are literally just, they don't stay.
That's me. Like, seriously.
What is that?
How many times have we talked about stats before? I'm like, I'm not really a stats person. That kind of gives you a moment in time, but it doesn't stay.
It doesn't, no, just because it's got a number in it. I mean, I'm surprised I know my own phone number, frankly. So, and now I won't be able to find them. So I am going to just keep looking through while I'm talking. It's so annoying, isn't it? Right. Okay, here we are. One of the reasons that we talk about women first when it comes to domestic abuse in particular is because, I've lost it again. Women are almost 4 times as likely to be sexually assaulted than men. That's Office for National Statistics, 2021. So let's be really clear that this is up-to-date stuff. Let's also be clear that there aren't any up-to-date domestic abuse stats post-pandemic. Any of us that work in this arena, we know they're going to be worse, right? People have been living with their abuser. Women are 4 times more likely to be assaulted than men. Stats in this country are 1 in 3 women will experience domestic abuse at some point in their lifetime. And it's 1 in 5 men. That means more women. 2 women a week are murdered by a partner or an ex-partner. So that does mean potentially another woman has died at the hands of a man today. And by this time next week, when we open up our offices, our dining rooms, wherever you are, our shopping centres, because we're doing some work at Souk as well.
Yes,
awesome.
damn right.
Nice.
But by next Monday, that will be another woman in this country. I'm talking about worldwide. So it happens to more women. However, so that's why I would like us to think about being sensitive before we come back to whataboutery. Now, it does happen to men. It is 1 in 5 men. And we know that both of the stats with domestic abuse are probably higher than that because a lot of people don't talk about it.
Don't disclose, that's right.
Don't disclose. There's all sorts of things around that. So rather than coming back with that first sentence, which I'm like, are you trying to derail? Talk, and then let's talk about men. Because actually, I wrote some things down. I'm not a man, I'm a woman, right? So we were talking about empathy. Yeah, I don't know what it's like to be a man. I know that when I am fed up, I know that I've got X amount of girlfriends that I can say, right, I'll go to the pub, bar, any other products
available.
Like
a spa or something.
Like a spa, absolutely. Or the park. If you need to be in let's not go there. Right. But anyway, there are places and we sit there and we defrag it. We chew it through. We give our opinions. We do all of that. And these aren't stereotypes. This is my experience. When my husband goes out with his best mate, posts something, like a death in the family or something, and he comes back, I say, did you talk about? No. That's brilliant. Such a good night. There is a stereotype around that, but actually it's quite real, isn't it? We don't bring our men up to talk. We bring our men up to man up. Don't look weak.
Don't cry.
Don't cry. And can I say a non-school word, I would call it? Am I allowed to say the word? Well, I'm going to say it, aren't I?
Yeah,
to get permission.
That's fine. Say it.
What's all this about calling someone a pussy?
Oh, yeah.
And it's relative to a female. I think we know because we're not talking about cats. Yeah, it's relative to a female gender, and it denotes weakness.
That's strong as hell, mate. I've had 2 kids. Just saying. Yeah.
Denotes weakness. Yeah. If we call someone a DICK, we don't like them. We're cross. We think they're idiots, but they're strong, right? And that's linked to a male. So we know that we bring up our guys to toxic social norms, which is why this is so important, because it's getting people talking. There's a great deal of shame around, and so now I'm going to talk about humans. There's a great deal of shame and misunderstanding around abuse, whether that be sexual abuse, sexual harassment, domestic abuse, gaslighting. When we look at Black Lives Matter, how much gaslighting goes?
Do you know what as well, though? It is the gaslighting as well, but it's more dangerous for me. It's the micros. It's the microaggressions
Absolutely.
that people don't understand that they're actually doing. And they're the bits. I mean, my anxiety went through the roof 2020. Me and him had a conversation.
It's on the podcast. It's on Spotify.
Exactly, yeah. I was not in a good place at all. And I live in a predominantly white area. So finding any ally here in terms of my lived experience was very difficult. My friends are amazing and I love you all, but that lived experience was lacking. So I found that really tough. And then it would be things like you said, the second sentence. The first sentence was, well, it's not that bad here. Or, we're not in America. Or actually, and Alex was saying, right, what is it? What can I say? What is it? What's the language around it?
Which is amazing.
Which is absolutely brilliant, because I was able to tell him, actually, that one, that you said about the All Lives Matter, and I was like, oh yeah, that old chestnut, you know, like all humans.
But we put it
whatever.
on. We put it out there, didn't we?
Yeah,
we said,
to challenge people, because I understand that those people that have those microaggressions in any of these things are doing it from a sense of shame, perhaps, or doing it from a sense of protectiveness. You know, it brings up a lot of negative emotions. It feels wrong. It feels bad. It feels a bit ugh. So therefore, that's that protective thing, isn't it? Saying, well, actually, I've got brothers and sisters, and they're not just. Well, no one said that. That's not what we're saying. But it happens. You've got
just
numbers
that happens,
there.
right?
Yeah. But I think that is a protective factor. I think human beings by nature don't want to be challenged. No one likes being challenged.
No.
No, but why do we? So I'm a white person, so I'm going to be really, really honest. Why am I considering how I'm being attacked when somebody talks to me about racist microaggressions? What is it in me that makes me go, and protective? I think you're right. You know, there might be a part of me that goes, oh, I'm not that person. Honestly, I'm not that person. I'm really nice.
Yes.
And that's cool. It don't mean it hasn't happened to you.
It's negative things. So I watched this dodgy program the other day. Oh, it sounds really bad. It wasn't that bad. Oh my God. What
we'll
was
be talking about this
exactly
later.
This is not, I was watching something.
This is a 3 a.m. conversation, guys.
Dodgy program on TV.
Yeah,
It was about Dubai, right?
Okay.
And I was watching this program about Dubai, and when people were talking to the people that live in Dubai with this vast amount of money, there's no tax, you know, the wealth is just staggering and quite uncouth, as us British people would say. It makes us feel slightly uncomfortable, all that money. And I was saying to my children, because my husband came in and was like, what are you watching? I was like, oh, this thing on Dubai. I don't normally watch terrestrial TV, but I watched it because I was fascinated behind the psychology behind it. People started laughing when they were talking about their money. They were, so how many cars do you have? Well, about 8. And it was this uncomfortableness. And it's kind of like this masking of a negative emotion in a way that comes across as really interesting to me. I was watching going, wow, they're laughing because actually this is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, isn't it? It's how people react when they're uncomfortable that tells you a lot about that person.
Well, yeah, but also it's okay to be uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Let's be bloody uncomfortable.
Well, you do it with that's what you're doing. Listen, you're applying.
Yeah.
When pressure is applied, character is revealed.
Oh,
and
I love that.
And it's a wonderful situation for us all to learn about ourselves, right?
Yeah.
What's coming up for you when that
and by the way, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because, you know, as a white person, have I ever been through racism? No. I don't have to have gone through racism, though.
To know it's painful.
To understand and to respect how painful it is and to call it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I hear, to call it out, to question. And I think what breaks my heart about what you've just said about 2020, we have a great colleague that I work with, Amelia. I know she won't mind me giving her name.
Go, Amelia.
Amelia.
She's amazing. And she was very, very articulate for me when things were coming up on social media. And I thought, right, okay, I'm not out there at the moment because it's lockdown. So when I see these things on social media, I can use my knowledge, experience, to be able to just kind of gently challenge things or just to put something else in place. And I am going to bring it up. The fact that George Floyd, one of the first sentences certain people were saying afterwards was, well, he was on drugs.
Okay, then.
So do we now live in America? Do we live in a country, or if that was in England, do we live in a globe where if somebody takes drugs, they should die slowly at the knee of someone on their neck?
Wow.
Is that, because if that's it, let's get it legally into our laws, right?
Constitution, yes.
Part of your constitution. It's really important that that's how you murder. They should be murdered if they're on drugs. That's a disconnect.
Yeah.
And that's an excuse, and that's a reason to not think any deeper on it. And excuse me, but I think it's all of our responsibility to think deeper on it. And Amelia was really articulate, and I used to phone her up and go, Amelia, just got this one. Any idea, like, best way to handle this? And she used to go, and then one day, she said to me, she said, I'm really tired.
I did think that when you was talking, but go on. Yeah, I knew that was coming.
I'm really tired. I've been on social media. I've had conversations with my family, with my friends. I've watched the TV. I've listened to the radio, and I'm done.
Yeah, I don't want to do this anymore yet.
Actually, I've given an awful lot, and actually, I'm really in pain. And I think it's at that point that I kind of went, okay, tell me what you need. From one side, I love you. And then I'm going to carry this on. Because actually, whose job is it to call out prejudice? Whose job is it to call out discrimination? I would hope I've never been racist. Unconscious bias, I'm guessing probably most people have.
Including Black people.
Okay.
In this country. It's interesting. There's a program we watched with my kids about racism in schools and how it's all brought up. And there was a school in London, 52% Black, 48% white, and they split them up and segregated them and did work around like what this feels like. And it was fascinating that everybody, including Black people, have got, you know, this idea of this microaggressions in their own culture sometimes. So I understand your Amelia being very tired. I got very tired in St. Neots. I got very tired. I've had lots of conversations and stuff. But and I know, you know, we're talking about these really big kind of meaty things that which do fundamentally affect your mental health, right? They categorically do. I can tell you, Amelia, I was with you, girl. It's painful and it's a lot of effort and it's very draining and it's very painful and all of those things. When you're doing your plays, and I suppose I can ask you that question now, right? When you're doing your plays, how do you as an organisation protect that piece? And it's not necessarily racism, it's all of the isms, right?
Yeah,
you know, if we're doing transphobia, how do you protect?
Which is our next play. We need funding. Looking for funding.
Support them.
Yeah, to write a play about being a transgender teenager. I'm going to share with you, if we could just have a quick commercial break, if it takes as long as last time. Where is it? These are some of the things that we have heard in response to your question. It's there somewhere. I'm so prepared and yet so not. Right. Okay. I've heard the following. Well, she was so we're talking about character. Yeah. So we've got to this point where we're talking about clothing, controversial issue. We're also going for our Arts Council funding to look at identity, how we use our clothes. What do we wear that feeds into our identity, but also makes other people comment on us? Yeah, and we're hopefully doing it at Souk in a shopping centre.
Yay,
so
that sounds awesome.
that's another thing. Anyway,
Very
she was
good.
wearing a short skirt. She deserved it.
Oh wow.
I just don't like gay people. That's all. Another lovely sentence. Girls shouldn't get drunk because it makes them vulnerable, and then they can't blame someone else.
Wow.
I don't want to go to the loo with a gay man. He'll probably make a pass at me.
Oh wow.
Can I just say I'm heterosexual, and I actually say this when there are young men in the audience as well. And back in the day, they used to sigh. Sadly, and now they're very relieved when I say I'm heterosexual. I don't fancy every single male in this room. Like I say, 20 years ago, they used to go, oh, now they go, thank God for that.
I don't believe that.
Unless it's cabaret night.
Unless it's cabaret night, and then that's a shush experience, secret cabaret club. That's how we raise some of our money.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
That's how we raise money. Well, they just need to man up. Man up. Do we say woman up? I say woman up.
Yeah.
If I'm going to use man up, I go also woman up.
Yeah.
Which one are you saying? Snowflakes. Wonderful.
Love that.
Oh, people are such snowflakes. Boom. Shut down.
Yeah.
End of the conversation.
Done.
Oh, it's all being about politically correct. Boom. Shut down. End of conversation. No. Let's call out. Let's stand up to derailing and ending conversations. I'm such a snowflake. How interesting. In what way? I hate the cold, just in case you know. All this political correctness, it means you can't say anything now.
No,
You can be kind or don't be stupid. Of course you can. You're speaking all the time. You're speaking all the time. Do you have to consider what you say as to whether it's going to annihilate someone else? Yeah, that's okay, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, women need to keep themselves safe by making sure they don't put themselves in danger. Why are we tasking people of colour with the job? We need to talk about that phrase as well, because the terminology, people of colour, BAME was a thing.
Yeah.
Now that's not a thing. It's very othering.
Yeah, we don't like it.
People of colour, some people don't like.
Yeah.
So let's have that conversation, because at the moment it's it's a really important conversation. So isn't that interesting? Is that what is BIPOC okay?
No, interestingly enough, I don't personally don't tend to group people together in any way, shape or form. However, BIPOC is Black, Indigenous, people of colour. So it takes away the Asian culture or the Asian identity within BAME, which is not for Black people. So Black people are kind of, it's a very different lifestyle. And I think the whole point of shoving everybody who's non-white into a group of people.
Let's face it, we've been doing that for long enough.
Call it. Just say non-white. Just say non-white. It's a lot easier. We all know what you're talking
about. We'll just put you there. And
all of the non-whites.
Yeah.
All right, it's you guys done. But that's
exactly not progression, is
so
it?
a lot of language around it. Yeah. But I guess it comes out. Listen,
oh my God.
Yeah. But
it's so true. It's crazy.
It's also about asking people what they want. It's about asking people how they would like to be identified. I did a talk for the WI, which was hilarious. And in fact, and I love the WI, I love you all. But the note I got back afterwards was, we've never had a talk like that before. And it was very interesting and enlightening. And it was about...
I hope you put that on a badge and wore it.
No, do you know what? I've got it written down, actually. I will have to put it somewhere. But the interesting conversation was about accepting people as they are. And actually the conversation was around the frame of reference, because Alex will know that I'm forever going on about that. But it was around kind of gender identity, and a lot of older women were in there talking about and I said, so, what about if somebody comes out as non-binary? And one woman went, oh.
Wow.
And I kind of picked up and I was like, look, no disrespect, what comes up for you when you said that?
Nice.
She's like, well, you're a male or female, aren't you?
It's ridiculous.
Yes, and it was this very negative. And I said, is it because you don't understand it? It's like, well, yeah, I guess it is. I guess it is.
And there it is.
And therein lies the issue. So I said, you don't have to understand it from their point of view, because it's not your life. But you have to be aware that this is their life and be as open to it as possible.
And respect it.
Respectful. Another lady came up to me afterwards. She said to me, I loved your talk. It was really interesting. I said, what was it about? She goes, my granddaughter's non-binary.
Fantastic.
And sometimes she's a girl, sometimes she's a boy. And it was all of these.
Oh, okay.
So my granddaughter's non-binary. She's sometimes a boy. She's sometimes a girl.
Yeah, so
and the way in which
I was like, oh, great.
Yeah,
so you can have that conversation. But then
you know what? And I know, but for me, I was like, but she's trying. This woman is trying.
100%, yeah.
She doesn't understand it, but she's trying to be as open. And that's all I'm asking people to do, is be open in terms of their dialogue and their understanding. 100%. Do your research. It's not for me to go and teach everyone. It's not for every non-binary person to go and teach everybody about gender.
It shouldn't be their job. It should be somebody else's job.
Yes, absolutely.
In the people who are being oppressive.
Yes.
And let's be honest. We, as a white person, my ancestors had the power to murder, oppress, etc., etc. Let's woman up and not take responsibility. I've never murdered anybody, but actually my ancestors did. Yeah. And actually, when
they're a bit dodge, mate. Like,
they're a
bit.
Thanks very much, but now it's my job to kind of go, that wasn't good enough. And obviously we can look into pain and we can look into all of that stuff. When it finally comes down to it, I ain't going to tell you how you're feeling.
Exactly.
And what you were saying there, really, if Alex, it was, are you a man?
Yes.
And if I then went, ugh, wouldn't you just think that was ridiculous?
It's very rude, actually. It's very rude.
I'll just say fuck off.
But isn't it interesting that actually, because you are a man and because traditionally you've had kind of the power, it's not going to hurt you as much as when you say, Sarah, are you a woman? Ugh.
Oh, I've seen it.
Actually, it hurts.
So I've seen it. So Christine, who you just met, who kindly found you.
Found me in the car park.
Bless you.
Found me in the car
So
park.
I've seen it. We've been in business together for 6 years now, and I've seen her answer the phone, and someone asked for the boss.
Amazing.
For the manager. and I laugh because I wait for them just to get absolutely destroyed. It's just great.
But she has to fight, doesn't she?
She does, and
I'm getting tired of fighting.
And we must finish this conversation because I've got someone. I almost want to bring them in because I've got Lynette next.
Yes,
and she's here. And I almost want all of three of you in the room together would be like a dream for me for a conversation, just be wonderful. Anyway, all right. So I stepped down. So I stepped down as CEO of businesses for that, partly for that reason. One, I'm a terrible manager, by the way, useless. I'm a good founder. I'm a good CMO. I'm a good champion of things. I'd like to think I'm a good leader, but Christine's a phenomenal manager of projects and people. And with her growth journey, she didn't ask me to do that, but I felt that she needed it to happen
because of other people.
Because it would enable her to progress. And you've seen the giant journey that she's been on since then.
Well, we did that on my podcast. We did
plug.
Sorry, yes, my podcast. It is what it is. Podcast with me, Danielle Bridge. Anyway, we did one about called How to Be a CEO, because it's that whole expectation of what that's supposed to look like. Yeah. It's normally a man. It's normally a white guy. You have to challenge that. Yeah,
someone has to step. If the problem is that people aren't stepping aside, then step aside.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And that's okay. And we're not a threat.
No, I don't. It's not even about that. No, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? I personally feel like we're seen as
I think there's a generation. I think I like to think for my generation, millennials and Gen Z's coming through. I don't feel like I don't think we feel like that.
We're all getting there.
Well, at least I would say from my frame of reference. I would say that I don't feel that, and at least the people that I choose to hang around with wouldn't feel that way, or would not be that way. It wouldn't even be a thought.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because misogyny has been brought up, and you're right, that's not that generation. But just to put a little bit in context of some of the things that I hear as a woman, misogyny was brought up in Parliament. Should it be a hate crime? Should it be a hate crime? No, it shouldn't be a hate crime, apparently, because there's so much else that we need to deal with. That's at the end of the line. Wow. Okay, that's interesting in itself.
Yep.
A member of Parliament being asked about misogyny being a hate crime and replying, that misogyny was really bad for women and for men.
Wow.
I'm just going to let that land. So we've got misogyny being a hate of women and people who are making major decisions not knowing what it is.
What it actually means.
Wow.
Yeah, see, sometimes there's no words for me. That's a problem. Because I'm full of words. And when I haven't got any, we know we've got a bit of a problem.
She's right.
And I felt that resonates with me when Sarah Everard was murdered. Because I've been through some stuff, and that's the reason, I've been through some horrible stuff, and the reason that I run a theatre company and do this work is because I've seen it. And I, at the point when at the vigil people were being arrested and it was all on the news and everything, I said to my husband, I need to step back now.
Yeah,
I can't do this. This is just triggering everything for me. And I just took some downtime, which is okay. By the way, it's okay to pass it on. Pass it on to someone else, but just be, if you can say, I can't do this right now.
Yeah.
Is there any way you could, and that's down to go and pick up the dog or, take the dog for a walk, pick up the kids, write my emails for me. How many people use just in their emails? Do you know more women use the word just? I'm just emailing to, or I just wondered if, is it just?
I'm just interrupting you.
Just interrupting you. I'm terribly sorry. This is how small I am. Why don't we can change that really quickly, right? But what was I saying? Sorry. Off on a tangent.
Look, are you going to finish your sentence? And please do.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm going to just speak to Lynette. I just feel like I'd rather you carry this conversation on, because I think it's really important and I think it's fantastic. And I think Lynette, Lynette.
Yep.
She's another one of my favorite. As long as I get a hug from her before she starts, then that's all I really want from her. And then you can carry on this conversation and transition to Lynette and her story.
What with a contemporary dance piece?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know this stuff. You guys are both theatre and all your things.
Well, I got an A-star in drama.
Yeah, you do
back
stuff,
in the day.
right?
And that's why people should take drama, because they're amazing negotiation skills,
Facilitators,
facilitating, thinking outside
So I'm
the
going to go
box.
get Lynette, replace myself in here for 25 minutes or
Okay.
so. I will have to interrupt you, because I know you're just going to go on.
Just cut us off.
But just
Come back tomorrow,
can I just say you are absolutely wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm so it's finally to meet you.
I know, it's
But
ridiculous.
I can't wait
how
to
long
work
it's
with you.
taken.
I've been wanting to do something together for a while.
Yeah, and it will.
We're going to
happen,
do some big stuff.
100%,
I'm certain of it. And I've just massive supporter of what you're about and what you're doing. So let me go get you guys. Continue. I'm going to go get Lynette.
So thank you, Alex. Thank you.
And we've got Luke just saying that he thinks that Sarah is awesome.
Is what? Don't pause.
Awesome.
Oh, okay.
Thank
you,
Luke. About topics that other people won't make it simple but effective. And actually, I'm so glad that you brought up a couple of things. We'll just get rid of that. A couple of things in that conversation, because it is triggering, it is difficult.
Yeah.
But we have to have safe spaces to have difficult conversations.
Yeah.
Because this is the undercurrent of the issues we have in society. And I think people can quite easily take a top level approach and go, oh, that's terrible. Oh, that's really bad. And then continue with their life. When
and then do you want a cup of tea?
Yeah.
Where does that? That's probably not a good example, because it's good to make a cup of tea if you want to have a conversation.
I love tea, but
that's exactly it, isn't it? And you said it earlier. How do we face our own fears? Like, is it okay to say I don't know?
Yes.
Are the best doctors the people who say, oh, I don't know, but I'm going to find out?
Do you know what? Right, and it's interesting you say that. And I can only go back to my own frame of reference. In terms of misogyny, yes, I have been a victim of that. Not domestic violence, no, but I come from a very difficult background. We can talk about all that stuff offline. But the Black Lives Matter for me, my husband is white, so it's really hard for him asking me, like, Danielle, what do I need to do? Yeah. What is it that I can do to support you throughout this when I'm in pain on my knees, talking about this stuff, and he was helpless. He's like, well, what do I? And I said, actually, you can start to talk to your people about it.
Yes.
Because, how to fix racism in this country shouldn't come from Black people.
No. Why are we tasking you with the job? That makes no sense.
The Sarah Everards, how can we, and I know that there was a narrative that said, we need to talk to our boys. This isn't a women on women thing. This is, if men are raping women and attacking women, then how do men deal with this? This is a conversation and I've seen an awful lot of work being done around men talking to men about this stuff,
which is fantastic.
Which is where it needs to come from, right?
Thank you for doing that.
That's where it needs to come from, because that's the conversation where that narrative is, and how. But I think that's also reflective on everything that we have problems with.
100%.
It has to come from within that group.
Yeah,
and actually, in the prison service, which you mentioned earlier on, this whole kind of working towards reform and understanding why and taking responsibility for why you've done what you've done. And it's not necessarily an excuse, but you talking earlier on about what brings people's lived experiences to where they are, but it could be an awful lot of things. Awful lot of things, lived experience, going through risk factors. We were talking this morning about Romsey Mill, those young people who've had a difficult upbringing, a difficult start to their life, and some of them are going to be in the justice system. Some of them are going to be homeless. How will they behave? What are their risk factors? There's so much.
There's so much, and we need to be kind.
We do need to be kind.
And just be kinder,
we do. But we need, and understanding. Yeah.
But it's not an excuse. You're absolutely right. But we've got to stop and listen, haven't we? We've got to understand where people come from. The police around the Sarah Everard case, they couldn't bring her back. Like, that's not something they had in their ability. The people around who were listening about it and getting on social media about the vigil, they could have treated it differently. Did you really need to go in and manhandle a load of women who were grieving? And they weren't just grieving over one woman. Not that isn't enough, by the way. They were standing up and saying, we can't do this anymore. Yeah. We can't. The same with Black Lives Matter. We can't do this anymore. Yeah. I don't think we're even at the point where we're going, we won't do this anymore. It's not good enough. Actually, we can't. Because we can't. I can't finish that sentence.
Because we can't. Is Lynette, is she coming?
So Lynette wants to have a conversation with me, which I'm worried about.
Okay. Does she want to have it on?
Yeah,
Right,
which is no, in a good way, I'm sure.
That sounded
just-
very like.
Yeah.
No,
so-
because I don't know. I've managed to ever finish a conversation with Lynette without in sort of tears or useless to everyone. So if it's okay, we will end this interview now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm definitely need to get you guys on a pod together or something
let's do
because
it.
Amazing.
And
I'll let
obviously,
you-
if you need an extra in any,
I'd love you to come and see our work. Actually,
I would
right?
love
That's
to.
what
Yeah,
really mean
we'll-
the
yeah.
word. And we've got a few gigs coming up, and you know, and just to kind of punctuate it. I don't know if I ever said that. I don't know where that came from. Just to punctuate it for me, having been in these awful positions, I believe fundamentally that we can make change
Absolutely.
by listening to each
Yeah.
other and by talking. If I had met Tick Box when I was 17, I don't think I would have gone through the things I did. If I'd been given the opportunity to know what the early warning signs were of unhealthy relationship, of domestic abuse, I think I know that I would have stepped away, been able to step away, because my self-esteem had been so chipped. It wasn't until the punch that I went, oh no, I kind of know this is wrong now, because I was taught at junior school that if you punch somebody, it's against the law. Why did it have to get to that point for me to go, oh no, it's okay? And if I'd met Tick Box, if I'd had that opportunity just to sit and discuss and say, well, actually, this isn't healthy and this isn't healthy, I don't think I would have gone through as deep and as painful as it got.
It's fundamental.
It has enabled me to do this work. So kind of, if you want to get a bit kind of like destiny, can I share with you something really funny just before we go?
Go on then.
So
quickly.
I did a quick iPod shuffle as I was
Okay.
driving up here.
Yeah.
Just after I'd finished writing what I was going to read out, which I didn't in the end because we were chatting so much, which I love. Okay, so the first song that came on was Turn It Off from the Book of Mormon, talking about if you've got feelings, you just turn them off,
Just turn it off like
forget
a
them,
switch.
like a light switch.
Yeah, so
And I'm
funny.
like, oh, that's so weird that came on. Second one, Magic Changes.
Right.
Third one, That Will Be Enough. You are enough.
Yeah,
And there you go.
Well, I
You are
message to
enough.
finish.
We are enough. Let's make change.
You are
Absolutely,
special.
you are enough. Love
Thank
it.
you very much.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm
gonna
sorry
come
I'm
see
late.
you.
No,
Yes.
it's quite all right. Right, we're
I'm gonna go to break.
So yeah, thank you everyone. That was
Thank you for listening.
wonderful. And please do like you didn't mention the shush experience as much, but just go check out all of the work that they're doing because they're amazing at what they're doing. And clearly, you know, the conversation speaks for itself. Like that is fundamental,
Powerful stuff.
absolutely fundamental to see that sort of stuff happen in our communities. So
Quick
colour.
one. Which colour would you like to see our light box go? Get this collection.
We're a very purple.
Oh, so we are.
we're
Okay,
purple
so
Back to
this
people.
one?
purple, yeah.
That one all right? Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
That one okay? Is
Beautiful.
that
No, I
a
feel
bit
like more
more
purple than
purpley.
that.
That
Yeah,
purple?
yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Wicked.
That's
all right.
better.
Purple people can change the
Perfect.
world.
And one thing you're really excited about for 2022.
We are working with the probation service. We are writing a Do You Hear Me is our racism project, anti-racism project. How to be more racist? No.
Oh, no.
Our anti-racist project is Do You Hear Me? We're writing an adult show of it. We're going to be taking the Bruges Can't See into an adult arena.
Oh.
So we want to hear from anybody who's got a space and can get people to it. And we're going to be doing festivals. And I am going to stop having long COVID.
Yes,
that's
bless
another
you. I know,
conversation.
bless
That
you.
sucks.
You've been really
And
suffered by that.
yeah, it's too much to do, right?
Yeah.
Too much to
forward.
do.
Yeah, too much.
2022.
Yeah.
This is
Long COVID.
power
back
now.
Off. Yeah,
Back
right.
off.
Back off.
Back
Yeah.
off. Brilliant.
Thank
Love that.
Thank
Right.
you.
We're going to go to a break.
I'm gonna
Donate.
Donate.
Comment, share. We're up
Click.
to nearly £3,000.
Come on,
for
guys.
Quick
Let's tip it
SL
over to that
Minds.
3,000.
Get over 3,000. I have to do a TikTok video with Jamala.
Oh yes.
Oh, dear.
Please do it. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go and donate about £400 just to see that happen.
And I didn't know that, so I'm going to do the
Oh
same.
my God.
Thank you two for being you. This is really important.
Beautiful.
Really,
Right.
really
And I'll be
important.
back with Lynette in 5 minutes.